Planned obsolescence, quite.
You have that in mind? Yes, I see. Mm-hmm.
So, what is appetite and what is desire? I have an appetite because I'm hungry. That's a natural appetite. Mm-hmm. I see a car and I've read a great deal about it and I like to possess it, drive it, feel the power of it, going fast, the excitement of all that. Mm-hmm. That's another form of appetite.
Yes.
Appetite, intellectual appetite. Of discussing with a clever, intelligent, observing man or woman, to discuss, to stimulate each other in discussion.
Yes.
And comparing each other's knowledge, a kind of subtle fight.
Making points.
Points, that's right. And that is very stimulating.
Oh yes, yes it is.
And there is the appetite, sexual appetite. The sexual appetite of constantly thinking about it, chewing the cud. All that, both psychological and physical appetites, normal, abnormal. The feeling of fulfillment and frustration. All that's involved in appetite. And I'm not sure whether religions, organized religions and beliefs, whether they will not stimulate a peculiar appetite for rituals.
I have the notion they do. It seems to me that despite pious protestations that we made against that, but there is a theatrical display that occurs in the ritual.
Go to a Roman Catholic Mass and you see the beauty of it, the beauty of color, the beauty of the setting, the whole structure is marvelously theatrical and beautiful.
And for the moment, it appears that we have heaven on earth.
That's tremendously stimulating.
But then we have to go out again.
Of course. And it's all stimulated through tradition, through usage of words, chants, and certain association of words, symbols, images, flowers, incense, all that is very, very stimulating.
Yes.
And if one is used to that, one misses it.
Oh yes, yes. I was thinking as you were saying about, as at least to my ear, extraordinarily beautiful a language of Sanskrit, and the chanting of the Gita, and the swaying back and forth, and then one sits down to study what the words say, and one says to himself, now look, what on earth is going on when we're doing this as over against what the word itself could disclose. Correct. But the seduction that is available, of course it's self-seduction, one can't blame the language for being beautiful. It's the yes. And all this is encouraged, and the notion, I take it, that you're suggesting that we look at here is that there's a tremendously invested interest in keeping this up.
Of course.
Yes.
Commercially it is.
Yes.
And if it is not sustained by the priests, the whole thing would collapse. So there's a battle to hold the human being in his appetites, which is really very frightening when you look at it. Frightening in the sense, rather disgusting in one way, exploiting people, and intrinsically destructive to the human mind.
Yes, yes. I've had this problem in teaching, in my classes, in terms of my own discussion in class. Sometimes it has seemed that maybe the first stanza of a poem that I will have known by heart would be appropriate. And so I'll begin to recite it. And when I get to the end of it, the expectation has arisen, the ears are there, the bodies are leaning forward, and I have to stop, you see, and I have to say, well, now, you see, we can't go on, because you're not listening to what I'm saying, you're listening to how it's being said.
Yes.
And if I read it terribly,
yes,
you would no more listen to what it is, but your disgust would dominate, just as the pleasure is dominating now. And students have got after me for not reciting more poetry. And I tell them, you see, that you would be upset with that. It is a perfect sign that you haven't started to do your work in class yet. And then we're up against the problem that they think I'm being ascetical and denying the goodies.
Yes, good. Right.
That's part of what you...
Yes, of course.
Good,
of course.
good. I'm glad you cleared that for me. Yes.
And there is this desire, appetite, we know more, we have a little bit gone into it. What is desire? Because I see something and immediately I must have it. A gown, a coat, a tie, the feeling of possession. The urge to acquire, the urge to experience, the urge to offer an act that will give me tremendous satisfaction. The satisfaction might be the acquiring a tie, or a coat, or sleeping with a woman, or acquiring. Now, behind that, isn't there, sir, this desire? I might desire a house, and another might desire a car, another might desire to have intellectual knowledge, another might desire a God, or enlightenment. They're all the same. The objects vary, but the desire is the same. One I call the noble, the other I call it ignoble, worldly, stupid. But the desire behind it. So what is desire? How does it come about that this very strong desire is born, is cultured? You follow? What is desire? How does it take place in each one of us?
If I've understood you, you've made a distinction between, on the one hand, appetite associated with natural hunger, that sort of desire, and now we're talking about desire, which sometimes gets the name artificial. I don't know whether you'd want to call it that, but sometimes...
Desire. I might desire, but